Hey guys, it's Tara here from Raw Food Livin. I am at beautiful Tivoli Park, warming my hands up, and this is my 2017 recap video. So 2017 was a year of crazy amounts of change for me. I started it actually 1 year ago exactly. I was on a road trip around Vancouver Island, just visiting everywhere, going to these beautiful mountains and going to the other side to Tofino. And then I made the decision when I got home from that road trip to move to Scandinavia, which was a huge decision. I literally packed up my entire life with my dog, got in an airplane, sold everything I owned, like everything, enough to fit into 2 backpacks, and I had way more stuff to begin with. And then hopped on a plane, flew to Scandinavia and figured out all of my immigration and everything, got a visa, and started working in Scandinavia. I traveled a bunch around with Sea Shepherd. I went on regular trips to Amsterdam, and I just got back from another trip with Sea Shepherd to California where I was doing some media work there. And it has been a year of a lot of change. I have also developed anxiety, a lot of anxiety, and I think that's due to the fact that I had so many changes and I didn't have any stability in my life. It was the first time that I took a leap, I took a risk and decided to move somewhere entirely new, not really knowing a lot of people other than my partner. And to be honest, it was scary. I didn't have the stability that I was used to having in Canada, and I had a language barrier. There was just a lot of change. So I learned some big lessons in 2017 from doing all these new experiences. And the first lesson I learned this year is that you don't need things to make you happy, because I had a lot of stuff. I mean, I considered myself pretty much a minimalist when I was in Canada, but I still had a ton of stuff, and I attached so much emotion to the things that I owned. Like I had old high school yearbooks that I hadn't looked at in years that I held on to because of the nostalgic value of them. And I had a lot of other things too that they represented memories. And honestly, what I realized this year is that you will never have those memories taken away. If you get rid of your material possessions, you still have those memories in your mind. And I learned that I didn't need those things to make me happy. And on top of the fact that I didn't need them to make me happy, I actually felt way more free when I didn't have them anymore. So when I decided to sell, hopefully you guys can still hear with the bell. When I decided to sell all my material possessions, I felt a huge burden lifted because I was carrying all these things around with me for years, hauling them from place to place when I moved to different countries, putting them in storage. And when I sold them, I just felt liberated, like I was completely free. Like I still had those memories and I could still think of the things I used to have and the value that they held for me, but I no longer had to carry them with me. And there's something to be said for not having that actual physical baggage that you're carrying around. So that was the first lesson. You don't need things to make you happy. The second lesson is, even if something is terrifying, even if it scares the shit out of you, if you want to do it, do it. Because you get one chance. Basically, you get one opportunity to live this life. And if you don't take risks, if you don't take a chance, then you never know what can happen and you might live your life with regret. You know, I know it seemed that I was really happy on Vancouver Island, and for a lot of years, I tried to convince myself that I was really happy with my life and my life circumstances, but I was missing something and I didn't feel fully myself, and I knew that I had to make a change. I knew that I had to do something different. And it terrified me, like moving to a new country, learning a new language, going with my dog, which made me feel so anxious because I was afraid that something would happen to him. And it was really frightening because I didn't know what to expect, and I had no safety net on the other side once I was to make that change. But honestly, even though it scared me, I felt way better after doing it because I felt exhilarated. I felt like I was finally being true to myself. And that is the next lesson, is that if you don't feel like you are living a life that you enjoy, if you don't like the circumstances that you find yourself in, you have to change it. And I know it is hard. Like I really, truly know how difficult it is to change your circumstances, especially if you feel like I did, where you get into this place where you're kind of comfortable and it's easier to stay, even though in a lot of ways you're uncomfortable because you don't want to be where you are. It's easier to stay because you know it. You know what to expect. You go through the same routines and you kind of get stuck in that place of routine where you're just living the same life day after day. But if you're unhappy with it, honestly, there's no amount of routine that'll ever make you feel truly comfortable. For me anyways, I mean, I can only speak from my own experience, but honestly, if you feel like you are not being true to yourself and you're living a life based on expectations that other people have set on you or expectations that you've set on yourself, it's not worth it. It is way more worth it to make a change, to take a huge risk, and to put yourself outside of your comfort zone, because there's all those quotes on the internet that are like, your best life or your happiness is all outside of your comfort zone. And honestly, that's the truth. And the thing is that there's not a huge amount of risk associated with it, even though it seems scary, even though it's hugely daunting and you're like, what the fuck am I doing? Seriously, once you take that risk and once you actually go for what you want and change your own circumstances, it is hugely liberating. You feel like, regardless of the fact that it's scary and you might have a ton of challenges along the way, at least you feel like you're being true to yourself. At least you feel like you are listening to what you want out of your own life, because this is the one chance you get. So if you don't do it now, if you don't make the change now, if you don't change your circumstances, if you're unhappy, no one else is going to do it for you. And I think the third lesson that I learned this year, based on having anxiety and experiencing, you guys know I've talked about that in a previous video, where I developed anxiety and panic attacks when I previously had a judgment about those and thought they were just an over-exaggeration. I didn't think they were actually a thing. What I learned from having that experience is that it's okay to ask for help. You know, if you're in a situation, for me, I felt really embarrassed about having anxiety and having panic attacks, and I didn't want to ask for help because I was afraid that other people would judge me in the way that I once judged those same people in the same kind of situation. But it's okay to ask for help. If you're not okay or if you're suffering in any way, there is no shame in telling someone about it and saying like, look, I'm not okay and I need some help, I need some assistance. And for me, that was really hard to do because it takes a certain amount of trust, and it takes a certain amount of vulnerability too, because all of a sudden you have to bring your problems to someone else and admit that you're not okay and admit that maybe you're not quite as strong as you want to be. And for me, for someone who, I like to pretend that I'm strong all the time and I'm completely okay, and that's the mantra that I lived for years, like everything is fine, I'm completely okay, even if I'm not completely happy, I'm okay, everything is fine. But it wasn't. And so asking for help made a big difference, because I was actually able to open up and have gotten to a place where I feel a lot better now, and I'm a lot closer to feeling like I've healed from that anxiety and from those panic attacks. So that was a long run on of the 2017 year. It was a crazy year, but amazing, and I am so glad that I made the changes that I did. And I'm also really glad that I learned the lessons that I did, even though they weren't necessarily easy. 2018, I think, is going to be another year packed with adventure and crazy changes, but honestly, I'm ready for it now because I feel like I'm in a place where I'm happy and I'm in control of my life. I know that if I want to change my circumstances, or if I find myself in a place where I'm comfortable but not actually happy, I know I have the power to change that now because I've done it before. So I want to hear from you. Did you learn any lessons in 2017? And if you did, please share them in the comments below. Let me know. Maybe we can kind of learn from each other. Thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you guys next time.